May I come in, sir?
Yes, please come.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Mr. Awasthi?
Yes,
Would
sir.
you please take your seat?
Thank you so much.
Mr. Awasthi, you read constitutional law.
Right, sir.
Tell me what aspect of constitutional law you found most fascinating.
So, as per me, I found the fundamental rights to be one of the most fascinating aspects. And other than that, I also found Article 32 in particular to be one of the most fascinating aspects of the Constitution, which provides for the enforcement of these fundamental rights, sir.
Okay, great, yes.
Okay, Mr. Chaitanya Awasthi,
Right, sir.
you are from Kanpur.
Yes, sir.
Why Kanpur is not, shining like Gorakhpur or Varanasi or Lucknow? Some sidelined.
Right, sir. As rightly pointed out, there have been certain shortcomings in the holistic development of Kanpur. That being said, however, several key contributions by Kanpur have been made in terms of the leather industry or the industrial clusters related to manufacturing of automobile parts and the engineering parts. But that being said, the board member rightly pointed out, sir, that due to certain infrastructural issues in the past, such as lack of power supply, poor road connectivity, and certain other political issues as well, Kanpur has not yet realized the true potential that it is capable of.
Okay, Namami Gange program is a flagship program of Government of India.
Right, sir.
How you rate it as a successful model? Because the efforts has been done in 1985 also to clean Ganga. The two prongs approach, one is cleaning the Ganga and the other subsidiary part of it, the rehabilitation and all these things and plantation. In the budget also there is some mentioning about the 5 kilometer the strip of plantation, all these things. I would like to know what is, since Kanpur is an important place, earlier lot of pollution was there due to certain sewage were going directly without any treatment in
Right,
the
sir.
Ganges.
Right, sir.
I would like to know, just tell me present status, how successful this program, because a lot of money is being spent.
Right. So, Namami Gange program, as rightfully pointed out, is one of the flagship programs of this current regime. In particular to Kanpur, I would say it has seen a good amount of success in terms of both aspects, as you pointed out, the cleaning as well as the infrastructural development of the riverfront as well. For example, sir, recently the Sisamau drain, which was one of the biggest drains in Kanpur discharging effluents into the Ganga river, was closed, and work is on to add additional treatment plants to other drains as well. Notwithstanding that, sir, beautification drives have also been taken place. For example, the Kanpur Boat Club was recently inaugurated in the last month, which has seen tremendous potential in terms of water sports activities and riverfront development, and unlocking the true potential, as the Honourable Prime Minister said, of this Ganga districts. So they are leveraging Ganga both economically as well as making it environmentally sustainable by cleaning as well. And sir, as per the effort being a success or not, recently the Morna river in Akola district was cleaned by the citizens themselves. Although I do agree that Ganga is quite big and it won't be right to compare apples and oranges. But again, it is a holistic exercise. Both administration and the citizenry have equal role to play, sir.
Okay, earlier the number of industries were, as you already mentioned in the reply, the earlier number of industries were there in Kanpur.
Right.
By and large, Uttar Pradesh is still an agrarian economy and lacking, industries. In your opinion, what industries should come up? Because there are a lot of promises during the meets every year. Their MOUs are signed.
Right.
33.5 lakhs crore is a big amount.
Right.
But hardly anything, get into the translated. So my question is, what industries, in your opinion, are may come up that will help the state government to get the 1 trillion economy, which is a big vision?
Right, sir. So, in order of priority, I would say the first and foremost industry should be the food processing industry, which can leverage the as you said, the agrarian-based economy of Uttar Pradesh. In Kanpur, also the food processing rice and dal mills have had tremendous contribution to the district's total remunerations. Other than that, the second I would say would be the IT industry, sir. With the largest number of ITIs in India, UP is wonderfully placed in the median age working population as well to leverage in the digital revolution that is encompassing the country, especially the new electronic mega city being developed near Jewar, and obviously the districts like Gautam Budh Nagar can be wonderfully leveraged in the IT industry as well. And thirdly, I would say, sir, would be the tourism industry, with second largest number of footfalls in terms of domestic tourists and the various circuits that have been revealed by the state government recently, be it any form of tourism, health tourism, ecotourism, heritage tourism or adventure tourism. I think there is tremendous potential that is waiting to be unlocked in Uttar Pradesh. So these
My last question is, you are a law graduate.
Right, sir.
Climate change.
Right.
There are two terms. There is climate justice
Right, sir.
and climate action. These are the terms normally used in the big conferences.
Right, sir.
What do you take about it? What actually these words indicate?
Right. So climate justice at its core essentially propagates the idea of common but differentiated responsibility in terms of the same carbon budget has been utilized by different nations differently historically, and it would be wrong to attach the same number of responsibilities to the countries irrespective of the proportion in which they have utilized the carbon budget. So that would be climate justice to me, wherein the countries which have not been historical polluters should not be attributed to the same standards as others. Climate action, sir, is again a cumulative exercise which should be undertaken by everybody together, since climate is a problem which is across borders and does not affect only one country. So climate action is a holistic exercise that need to be taken to adapt as well as mitigate the impacts of climate change, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, dear Chaitanya.
Yes, sir.
As soon as I saw your name, and since you studied in Bengal,
Right, sir.
so name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in my mind.
Right, sir.
Would you brief me 2-3 lines about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Sure, sir. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a saint of the Bhakti movement whose region of influences included particularly the eastern India in terms of Bengal, Odisha and Bihar.
Very good.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known for his idea of Bhakti, wherein he said that
What is this Vaishnavism?
So Vaishnavism basically is the sect which believes in the worship of Lord Vishnu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also a proponent of the same.
Very good. I'm happy.
Right.
You have got the trait. Second thing, while speaking to Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Member,
Right.
I realize, in my view, your communication skill is amazing.
Thank you,
Why
sir.
did you not join, got registered in High Court as advocate? You would have done wonder. Lots of IAS, IPS officer would have contacted you. कि सर आप लीजिए हमारा केस.
Right, sir. Sir, during my 5 years in law school,
Few lines.
right, sir, I happened to intern under several advocates.
I want to know your turning point.
So the civil services had always been my goal.
What is turning point that you forgot? You lost love for advocacy and came to join civil services.
So I won't say I lost love because advocacy or law for me was means to an end.
Very good.
And law was me for an experience before I went for civil services preparation. And accordingly, I would say law has given me a lot of things which have helped me in the preparation also and will help me in future as well. But I did not find my capabilities and inclinations much suited to the profession of litigation.
Your choice is different.
Right, sir.
Very nice, very nice. So, again, you studied in Bengal.
Right, sir.
So, I would like to hear from you that Bengal, even British India, Bengal had been heart of India.
Right, sir.
British realized that unless they control Bengal, they won't be able to control all across India.
Right, sir.
Taking this statement in view, you refer certain development in Bengal to support this statement. Could you get my question?
Definitely, sir. Sir, I would say, as the Honourable Board Member rightfully pointed out, the British realized that not only Bengal had great potential, but also great threat to their.
One supporting point.
So I would say the partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon was.
That is very later on. If I say
Right, sir.
they had done so much homework that they had named their chartered company East India Company.
Right, sir.
In spite of getting established in Surat first,
Right.
but they ultimately realized, and Murshidabad, they established their capital in Calcutta.
Right, sir.
What was the reason behind establishing capital in Calcutta?
So, Kolkata was obviously a port city, and therefore, those being the times of maritime trade, provided great
Very
opportunities
nice.
to the
I support
British.
you to be pinpointed like an administrator.
Right.
Mouth of Ganga and Brahmaputra also.
Right, sir.
And they had been master of navigation.
Right, sir.
So they got inland waterway control as well as international trade.
Right, sir.
You support this point?
I do agree, sir.
Very
that-
nice. Then I want to hear some point to support the statement that yes, Bengal has been always target of British India.
Sir, I would say the first that comes to my mind is again the partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon. But
Again, I would like to remind you, if I support you this way, agree or disagree, your choice, Bengal, see, Regulating Act from Bengal, East India
Right, sir.
Company in Bengal, Permanent Settlement Act in Bengal, Fort William College in Bengal,
right, sir.
Sipahi Mutiny from Bengal, and that's why they realized that unless they control Bengal, they won't be able to rule India. And they targeted Bengal by dividing Bengal.
Right, sir.
Now the question is, now it is West Bengal. There is no East Bengal that has earlier East Pakistan or Bangladesh. What is the point of taking this name West Bengal? Why not you demand for Bengal?
So, the name West Bengal was obviously a remnant of the colonial past,
Yeah.
and it is a tradition that has been carried on. Recent attempts have been and demands have been made by certain sections of the Bengali
One
population.
line that what was the reason that it was rejected?
I apologize, sir. I'm not very well aware about.
No problem. Everybody doesn't know everything. Very nice. Last question I'm asking you, dear. You are a law graduate.
Right, sir.
Tomorrow you would be IAS or IPS officer, God sake. In what case you would like to enforce CRPC 133 and CRPC 144? In what case?
Sir, I'm unable to recall
Okay,
the
no
exact
problem.
of section
No
133. However, in 144, I would say instances where there are.
Leave it. I don't want
Right,
to
sir.
hear partial.
Right, sir.
That's very good. You have attempted. But yes, once again, I would like to ask you that prosecution is very important part for investigation
Right,
carried
sir.
out by police.
Right, sir.
Police stops at the point of investigation. If prosecutors are not doing justice, and you know you are from law background, majority of prosecutors are underpaid and overburdened. They don't put the thing before the court in right way, like a professional lawyer, defense lawyer. What can you suggest to the government that the investigation report be properly put before the court?
Right, sir.
Want to reform.
So I would say, firstly, that there are prosecutors who also do their job commendably well. Yes, there are certain shortcomings which need to be addressed. And how to address, I would say, first of all, integration of ICT mechanisms in terms of filing of charge sheets and the collection of evidence. And I think, sir, both the investigation and the prosecution work in tandem. They both swim or sink together.
Now, what did you suggest a reformative measure for prosecutors?
So the first would be a robust training to make them well adept with the contemporary needs and requirements of the changing legal scenario.
You are so simple by heart, I tell you. Prosecutors are very seasoned people. Number
Right,
of
sir.
times what happens, since they are underpaid,
Right, sir.
they are hand in glove with the lawyer, defense lawyer, and they keep quiet. That means I prepared the food very nicely, but there is nobody to lay out on dining table.
Right, sir. So
Thank you. You think over it.
right, sir.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Chaitanya,
Yes, sir.
you are a law graduate,
Right,
studied constitutional law also.
Right, sir.
Tell me, in today's newspaper, there was news about statement by Chief Justice of India.
Right, sir.
In one of the judgment, he said the governor should not precipitate the fall of the government.
Right, sir.
What is your take on this? Why did he say so? Are there some
Sir.
provisions in the constitutions which enable the governors to call for the house to
Right,
decide
sir.
the majority?
So, as per today's articles, the remarks made by the Honourable Chief Justice of India were in relation to the Maharashtra political crisis, wherein the Chief Justice of India noted that the governor should not take matters like the MLAs felt threatened into consideration. Those are for the inner party democracy, and this should not be a reason for him calling floor tests, which should be only in cases of majority. I would say, sir, these are preliminary remarks, and I do tend to agree because the governor has discretionary powers also under Article 153 of the Constitution, which provides for the office of governor. However, such discretion has to be utilized only in certain cases with circumspection, wherein there are instances of hung parliament or legislature. The governor may then decide as to who should be called in to form the government, or in matters of certain vetoes or sending the bills again for reconsideration, he has discretion. But this discretion has to be, as per Sarkaria Commission and Rameshwar Singh judgment, also very tightly observed and not should be on every occasion being used.
So what are the powers? You quoted 153 article.
Sir, as far as I can recall, yes, sir.
What is the power given in 174 or 164? Okay, so leave it. Now tell me,
Right.
In state of UP, Make in India initiative was taken up in 2014,
Right, sir.
and there were certain decisions to do ease of doing business,
Right,
and
sir.
there are certain structural changes brought in.
Right.
What impact does it? Has it brought in case of industries in case of UP?
So the Make in India initiative, clubbed with other initiatives of the central government, have seen a good impact on UP's industries in particular. For example, it has led to innovative mechanisms like Nivesh Mitra and Udyog Bandhu at the state level as well, wherein single window clearances system have been initiated. Further, this has also escalated several new policies, such as the UP's state policy on electronics manufacturing, UP's new tourism policy of 2019. These policy, as well as other initiatives in terms of defense corridors and infrastructural, UP becoming the land of expressways now, along with industrial and defense corridors, and also, sir, the industrial cities with plug-and-play infrastructure are being conceptualized in UP. So all these measures taken together are, sir, supplementary to the larger Make in India initiative dream, and in which UP can play a very prominent role.
My last question.
Right, sir.
What is gig economy, and what are the provisions should be made to strengthen this concept in India?
So gig economy is a platform-based economy wherein the jobs are of a contractual nature and do not meet the standards of traditional employment, and they are mostly on per shift basis or some other as per the respective app. Recently, the new labor codes have conceptualized gig economy to be under the paradigm of labor laws in India, but unfortunately the rules are still pending for labor laws and would require great cooperation from the state governments as well. But by and large, the gig economy is the heart of economy for the next generation with the digital transformation, and therefore needs to be regulated as early as possible and as comprehensively as possible, and the government is initiating reforms in the same case, sir.
Thank you.
Right, sir.
See, this Money Laundering Act
Right, sir.
has been for decades.
Right, sir.
But why it is today? What changes has made it very sensitive these days?
So the changes that have taken in Money Laundering Act these days?
Now, why it has become so sensitive these days? Earlier, hardly the news was of the Money Laundering Act.
Right,
But
sir.
today, you feel everywhere.
So I would say with greater accessibility, we are also getting to know about greater implementation of these acts. But that being said, these days emerging technologies like crypto and others are being utilized to...
That is for the accessibility.
Right,
What changes is there in the law?
So recently the law was amended to, if I can recall, sir, again, to cover politically exposed people recently, and to also cover a wider ambit of NGO activities along with the cryptocurrency. These were the three recent changes that I can recall, sir. And so I believe that...
Okay, your point taken off.
Right, sir.
It is the general perception in public is that richer get justice quicker than poor people. Why this perception is there?
So I
You
would.
agree or you don't agree this perception?
So unfortunately, I would agree with this perception because this is also, to a certain extent, the reality and an ill, I would say, plaguing the Indian legal system, where the rich get access to justice because of bigger lawyers having certain access through discretionary mechanisms in various courts through special leave petitions and others. But I would say the NALSA Act and other acts by the government also make an effort to make the access to justice equitable. And with the newer generation is also becoming more sensitive towards the plight of the society, and pro bono cases and others are also mechanisms available for the poorer section, but a lot needs to be done, sir. I would definitely agree with you.
Okay. Second point comes to my mind is exorbitant fee of lawyers.
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
Right, sir.
What you suggest to control it? Yeah, from government side or from society side?
So I think it would need all three stakeholders to step in: the government, the society, as well as the individual lawyer in question. From the government side, perhaps certain cases of pro bono can be mandated to ensure equitable access to justice through a particular lawyer. From the society side, I think the society needs to hold all professions more accountable to the purpose they serve in the society. Law being a noble profession also has to be held to the same standards. And from the individual lawyer's side also, I think, sir, it is a moral obligation upon the particular lawyer.
Okay.
Right.
Think of this International Court of Justice.
Right, sir.
Is today relevant or now it has become irrelevant? Citing the case of what
sir.
happened between India and Pakistan, or
Right, sir.
like that.
So recent events would prima facie suggest that the International Court of Justice has lost its relevance, but I would slightly disagree, given that Russia is still defending its actions on the basis of certain exceptions in the UN Charter and has filed an affidavit in ICJ. I would say it still holds some clout. And seeing the 𝐂𝐴𝐻 Jadhav case as well, wherein the Pakistan granted consular access, that also shows that the ICJ has clout. Yes, the enforcement mechanisms can be more strict, but I would say that as of today, they hold a considerable influence over.
You must have seen the election of UP and election of Bengal.
Right, sir.
Why so much political killings in Bengal?
So I would say the political killings in Bengal were few isolated incidents that occurred due to certain anti-societal elements, which could not be a description of the larger democracy that the state encompasses and every other state
Anti-social
encompasses.
elements are everywhere in UP also.
Right, sir. So again, I would say that in those cases also relevant action was taken and proceedings were there. However, law having a robust legal mechanism cannot be a guarantee for such events not taking place.
Okay.
What happens
Last
afterwards?
question.
Right, sir.
Tell me two solutions which has been done between Bangladesh and West Bengal, and two problems which are still existing.
So two solutions I would say were rationalization of certain tariff lines on cloth imports and exports, which was done. And secondly, I would say integrated check post commands were established along the border.
Okay, and what is still
And
remains?
the issues that which still remain, I would say, sir, is related to one of the water sharing.
Next.
And the other would be, sir, I'm not very sure, but there was an electricity agreement which is still under
okay,
consideration, sir. Right, sir.
Mr. Awasthi,
Yes, sir.
what's the difference between a stock market and a share market?
So a stock, again, sir, I would not like to
Okay,
guess, sir, I'm
fine.
not very sure.
What do you understand by market capitalization of a particular company?
So the market capitalization represents the total value of assets and turnover that the company has, which is quantified to represent a market capitalization. It also is a way of reflecting its share in the total market in that particular segment, as per my knowledge, sir.
Okay. I read a statement, I'm going to quote about Pakistan.
Right, sir.
Market capitalization of firms listed with the Karachi Stock Exchange is less than the market capitalization of Reliance Group in India,
Right.
unquote. What does it mean? I mean, as a observer of international scene, what would that suggest to you when you see this news item?
Right, sir. So it would suggest that India has a robust industry.
I'm not talking about India.
So
You are looking at the Pakistani economy,
right, sir.
and you come across this statement. What would that suggest to you about the state of Pakistani economy?
So that it is perhaps much the economy per se or the stock market capitalization, as you rightfully pointed out, is smaller than a big business house in India, which is privately owned, would suggest that they are in shambles, and a lot needs to be done to revive their economy, which is perhaps going through a very tough phase right now.
Okay. Pakistan is now being looked upon as a failed state, quote and unquote.
Right.
What are the characteristics of a failed state? And why do you think that Pakistan is in such a state?
So according to me, the characteristics would include a failed political system, a failed economy, and a system where the institutions have failed to keep up with their roles and aspirations. Answer why, as to answer the second part of the question, I would say again in the same order. First of all, the failure of the political establishment, which was not a true democracy, and the role of deep state played by in Pakistan. Secondly, on the economy aspect, sir, their imprudent activities in terms of economy and their funding of various terror activities and other antisocial activities was also one of the reasons. And thirdly, on the front of institutions, again, sir, their inability to keep up with their commitments to international monetary funds and other lenders also had a negative impact on their credibility on the international flora.
What is the role of IMF in Pakistan right now? What exactly is the matter? Can you briefly tell us?
Right, sir. So Pakistan is trying for a bailout package through the IMF, which has agreed in principle but subject to certain conditions, as IMF proposes certain political and economic conditions before it bails out any particular country. And that is the basic issue wherein Pakistan alleges that IMF is trying to strong arm it into several decisions which they are not comfortable taking.
Could you be specific about the amount Pakistan had sought, and why is it being held up, and what are the specific steps IMF suggested as a part of the what you call IMF conditionalities?
So
And
I would have to
what
read.
is the macroeconomic situation of Pakistan? And when you make this point related to the GDP of Pakistan, its inflation,
Right,
its
sir.
foreign trade.
So I would apologize. I would have to read up on the exact amount that it was sought. The conditions, I would perhaps be able to say, tell a few of them. The first condition that was imposed upon Pakistan was a stricter fiscal prudence in terms of consolidation of its debts as well as the consolidation of its expenditure. That was the first. Secondly, strict conditions were also passed in lieu of FATF's guidelines also to see that the funding is not taken to any terror related aspects. And so thirdly, strengthening of institutional democracy as well as free and fair elections was also one of the things I can recall. As per the macroeconomic situation, sir, I would say Pakistan is going through a period of ebb, wherein Pakistan's inflation has soared high with...
What's it now?
So I would not be able to...
What's the size of Pakistani foreign trade?
So I would have to read upon that.
Okay. What's the size of the Pakistani economy as compared to, say, Bangladesh?
So it is lower than Bangladesh, but again, I apologize, I would have to read upon that.
What's the size of our trade with China?
Sir, our trade?
Or India's trade with China?
Sir, India's trade with China currently is, we are in a trade deficit. We are heavily reliant on Chinese imports. To quantify, sir, I do not have a specific
What's
figure.
the size of China's foreign trade?
Sir, I would have to read up on that.
Okay. Now, I came across a statement made by Dr. Kissinger that in today's world, economic strength is the currency of power.
Sorry, sir.
Economic strength is the currency of power. What are the ingredients of economic strength? And tell me, who is Dr. Kissinger? First, you answer me.
So,
Who is Dr. Kissinger?
So Dr. Kissinger was the Secretary of State of the United States of America and an expert in international relations and affairs. He is right in pointing out that today economic strength translates to power, but I would not say it is the sole criteria. Yes, a major criteria of power in today's world. To what constitutes economic strength would be the foreign trade that a country has, its performance in its own markets, its economic resilience in terms of crises like the recent one, and the strength of its banking and regulatory structures to withstand economically turbulent times as today. And therefore, in this context, perhaps Dr. Kissinger was proposing that economic strength is what constitutes
Do you
power.
think that composition of the foreign trade is more important than the volume of the foreign trade? Please give a thought.
Yes, sir. I would agree that the composition is more important than the volume of the foreign
Yes,
trade.
but in what way and why?
Sir, for instance, if we are heavily reliant upon certain essential ingredients or components of an economy which support us, in terms of volume, they might be very low, but in terms of importance, they might be very high. For example, the rare earth elements, which are now an essential in every industry in today's digital world, the volume is low, but our reliance is very high. For another would be the energy imports, sir. Our composition of imports is largely dependent upon energy imports. 80% of our needs are imported, and to diversify that would also strengthen us in going past supply chain weaponization, which has now become the norm. So these are perhaps the reasons.
What is the total quantity of our import of crude oil and natural gas? You said 80%
So
is
in percentage
imported,
terms,
but
they are 80
what,
and
what,
52.
what exactly is the quantity of crude oil that we import?
Sir, I'm unable to recall, sir.
Thank you. Your interview is over.
That's it.